All right, I want to just welcome everybody to this live event. This is a webinar that I have been looking forward to doing for quite a while, probably about 6 months. And that I started working with Lavu on a program to compete with Toast. There's a lot of people that are still jumping on right now. This event will probably end up being full. We had so many people that registered for it. So I'm going to give everybody about 30 seconds more here, and then we're going to jump in and get this one started. So thanks, everybody. Okay, before we get this event going here, I would love for you to take just a second over in the question box. And if you can hear me okay, just I like to test it out to make sure. But what I want you to do is start off by giving me a number over in the question box and just tell me how many how many restaurants do you currently have in your portfolio? How many restaurants have you sold? You can give me a range, or if you're not comfortable sharing it, just say lots. It's fine. I'm just curious, to see who we're dealing with. We're dealing with people that have never sold restaurants. Have most of you sold a lot of restaurant clients? Give me a number. I've sold 50 or more. I've sold 10 or more. I've never sold a restaurant. I've sold a lot of them. Give me some information over in the question box to the right. I see we've got, let's see here, Mark with 20, Leslie with 22, Darren 725, lots, good, 16, 5, 3, a bunch, 50, none. There you go. So there's Craig. Thank you for joining us. Mark, thanks for joining us. Tim, those of you that haven't sold a lot of them yet, you're in the right place. We're going to be talking about that today and how you can really get that jump started. So for those of you that are just joining us, I just asked everybody really quickly over in the comment, the question box rather, to just type out how many restaurants do you currently have in your portfolio to give me a little bit of a feel for the audience. How new is everybody to this concept of selling restaurants? Based on this, what is great is there's a really good mix. My favorite answer, William Lambert says not enough. I like that. That's a good one. But there's a good mix here. A lot of you haven't sold very many, but there's also a lot of you in here that have sold a lot of restaurants. I'll be really interested to get your feedback as we continue on with this event. Okay, so let's go ahead and dive in. I mean, we got a lot of people in here. It's nearly full at this point, and so let's go ahead and dive in and talk. So this is a really big event. I'm not going to lie. This is a really, really big event for me. This is something that I have frankly wanted to do for quite a long time. And so let me give you a little bit of background here. If you go back about 2 years ago, I was, doing a lot of thinking, and I do a lot of consulting. So I work with a lot of ISOs. I work with a lot of technology companies like Lavu. And there was just this disconnect in my mind. And as I was talking to the individual agent, which is really my passion, our company mission is making merchant sales competitive by partnering with companies we trust. So I'm always trying to find companies that I can work with on the consulting side or the publishing side, or build training for them or whatever. But I want to find companies that I trust, that I can help, so that they can in turn help to make merchant sales competitive for the agents. And the model in the past was you had the technology provider. So you had, the Lavu POSs of the world. And I could mention many others. I'm sure you could as well. And so you had the technology company here. Then you had the ISO, the independent sales organization, where, that's where the salesperson worked, and that's where they got paid residuals and all of that. And what I started to notice over time is that there was this huge disconnect between these two worlds. And so the ISOs would say, well, yeah, we offer a lot of technology. And I'm like, well, what do you mean by that? Well, we have a portal, and we tell all of our agents, hey, here's the 75 different point of sales that we offer. Maybe that's extreme, but you get the idea. Here's all these different systems. Here's all these different gateways. Here's all these different terminals. And it's like, okay, well, how do the agents know which one to offer, right? Where's the training on how to sell it? Where's the training on how it works? I mean, a lot of times an agent, for me, when I was selling point of sale, I kind of wanted to know what I was talking about. And I kind of wanted to be able to help the merchant a little bit, right, with basics of the point of sale system. And so there was this kind of disconnect. And so I started to see things moving in a direction where these two worlds were coming together. And I saw that ISOs were starting to have an interest in, acquiring technology companies and becoming more tech centric. At the same time, I saw technology companies like Lavu that were saying, wait a second, we want to control the entire experience, both for the agent and for the merchant. How do we do that? How do we partner together more closely? And so this event is really the culmination of all of that. And specifically, I want to talk about Toast. And Toast is a company that is somebody we should be talking about. Okay. Right now, so Toast is a publicly traded company. And right now, Toast has 68,000 locations. So here's my question. For those of you attending right now, over in the question box, I would love to get either a yes or a no from you to this question. How many of you have walked into a merchant location that was using Toast? How many of you have walked into a merchant location or spoken with a merchant over the phone that was using Toast? Just give me a yes or a no. I'm just really curious. I've been wanting to ask this question. I'm really curious to see how many of you have done this. So I'm seeing all yeses many times. Chris says, duh. Okay. I'm not seeing a single no here. Okay. I have yet. Okay. There's hundreds of responses. I'm not seeing a single no. Okay. So, all right. I get it. So we've all done this. All right. So you walk into a restaurant location. Now, here's the question though. Okay. How many of you, it seems like all of you have walked into a location that had a Toast. What I'd love for you to put is now give me the number of those locations that you were able to switch from Toast to a different point of sale solution. So if you've never been able to do that, give me a 0. If you've been able to switch 1, give me a 1. If you've been able to switch a lot, right? So give me a number, okay? And this is exactly what I thought we would see. So uh, zeros, almost without exception. There's a few ones and twos, a couple, a couple people that have done good. Patrick switched a bunch of them. That's fantastic. And so this is the trend that I'm seeing. All right. So what I'm seeing is we have this problem where we have this massive competitor, tens of thousands of locations. This was as of, I think, 2 months ago, the 68,000 number. It's probably significantly higher than that. And they're adding thousands of locations a month. Well, I don't know about that. They're probably adding about 1,000 a month, I guess, right now, but they're adding a lot of locations every month. And by and large, the ISO agent channel is not competing well. As I talk to agents about this, it seems like our strategy is kind of very defensive. It's, how do you get around Toast? Well, you want to find locations that have an outdated system that are not already using Toast, right? You want to keep your current locations from switching to Toast. But I haven't heard anybody really saying, here's how you can, dominate. Here's how you can beat Toast. Here's how you can go head to head with them and you can beat them. And the problem is Toast is one of quite a few companies that are massive publicly traded companies that have huge, deep pockets. I mean, the amount of money that Toast spends on marketing a month is staggering. I mean, it's hundreds of millions of dollars they're spending on advertising, online ads, TV ads, every kind of ad you can imagine, inside sales, everything. And they're not leveraging the direct sales channel. And I don't fault them for any of this. They've done a fantastic job. They have a great technology. They've been serving restaurants and they're making a fortune, right? And so they've done really, really well. But then meanwhile, the ISO agent has not done well at competing with them. And again, I know there's exceptions. Some of you in here, a few of you in here have said you've done really well, but by and large, the vast majority have not. And so I want to talk about why. And then I want to talk about the solution as I see it. And then I've got Salim on here. I'm going to introduce him in about 10 minutes. And we're going to talk about Lavu and what I've been doing in partnership with Lavu through our consulting practice, our publishing, our content creation platform, and what we've been doing together to kind of create this program to be able to compete with companies like Square. So first, let's talk about the restaurant owner's dilemma. Now, I dive a lot more deeply into this in the training program that at the end of this event, if you stick around, you're going to be able to get a 3-hour, I think it's 3 hours and 20 minutes or something, training program that I put together, and you're going to get it absolutely free. No strings attached, no commitment. It is sponsored by Lavu, obviously, which is why I'm giving it away for free. Lavu is footing the bill for the creation of it, but it's a fantastic training program, and we dive a lot deeper into this. But, restaurant owners today are having a difficult time, all right? I think we all understand that, right? These restaurant owners are dealing with rising costs of labor, rising cost of ingredients, rising cost of food products, across the board, lots of cost, right? At the same time, they're dealing with pressure in pricing for things like Uber Eats, DoorDash that are taking a big percentage of the money. And so they have all these kind of different pressures. Meanwhile, they recognize that they need a technology upgrade, right, in order to stay competitive. So they need a solution like a Toast or a Lavu. They need a top-notch, point of sale solution, technology solution that's going to enable them to do in-store pickup, online ordering integrations, table seating, little kiosks at the table, whatever the case might be for their particular restaurant type. They need technology. And the solution that's kind of been brought to the table is something like Toast. Well, when Toast goes to a restaurant location, the cost is enormous. Not only are they paying for the cost of processing, which through Toast is going to be flat rate pricing, it's going to be fairly high. I mean, they're going to pay a lot for payment processing fees. But in addition to that, they're paying software fees, they're paying hardware fees, and all of that. And so there's a lot of pressure right now on the restaurant owners in terms of a pressure of cost, a pressure of, how do they grow revenues? How do they grow revenues in a way that doesn't, cost them a fortune, right? All of that. Okay. So there's a lot of technology here. I'm not going to dive into all this because I have a 3-hour course that does that, but you get the idea. There's a dilemma here for the restaurant owners. While at the same time, sales professionals have a dilemma as well. Okay. You're going out, you're walking into these locations that already have Toast or that are considering, if they're looking to upgrade, they've probably heard of Toast, right? I mean, Toast is spending hundreds of millions of dollars on marketing for a reason. They want that brand awareness. So these restaurant owners that are saying, we know we need new technology. And so they say, who are we going to use? And they're looking at you and they're looking at Toast, right? Well, what do you have to offer? Well, you have to offer a point of sale system. That's great. Then totally separate from that, you have payment processing services, and you're integrating them together with some kind of a gateway. So the process is maybe not going to be super smooth. Maybe your ISO hasn't worked out all the kinks of that yet, right? ISOs, by the way, I should mention, are going through the exact same problem. And so there's this disjointed kind of, cobbling pieces together that Toast has all in-house because they have their own payment processing and, technology all under one roof. At the same time, the economic model is ridiculous. Frankly, it's ridiculous, right? I talked to an agent last week. Hey, I'm really struggling. My whole career has been selling restaurants point of sale systems. I don't know what to do. And I'm like, okay, well, what are you offering? And they're like, well, Toast is offering free hardware and there's no cost of setup. And I'm offering my restaurants a point of sale system that costs on average $7,000. Well, yeah, that's not competitive. Yeah, you're not going to win that. Like, hello, right? I mean, we all understand this, right? This is not like a big surprise to anybody. So the sales professional has this dilemma where they've kind of gotten to a point, a lot of them that I've talked to have kind of said, well, I'm just trying to, it's a land grab opportunity. I got to sell everybody before they realize Toast exists. I think that is a flawed strategy. I think instead we should say, wait a second, let's actually get something competitive where we can go to market and beat Toast and offer something better that they don't offer. Right, that makes a little more sense so that we can actually compete head to head with them, and be successful. So I'm not a big believer in going on the defense. I'm a big believer in let's rethink this, let's do something different, and let's go to market. So what's the solution to this dilemma right now? Let's go to the solution, and we'll talk about it. So I believe that there are 4 components that you need to have at your disposal in your toolbox in order to compete head to head with Toast. And then I'm going to interview Salim here in a few minutes to talk about how we've kind of put this together. So number 1 is you need to be able to eliminate the hardware cost as an option. Now, I'm not saying, every single merchant is going to pay 0 hardware cost, but for sure, we're going to eliminate the huge upfront cost, right, of the hardware. And we'll talk more about the options here in a minute. But we definitely want to eliminate this idea of, oh, you want to sign up with me? Fantastic. All I need is $15,000 in your signature here. It's like, I always tell people, my consulting clients, we don't operate in a vacuum. We have to look at what our competitors are doing and we have to adjust accordingly. And what Toast has done that a lot of people don't understand is they've created this idea of kind of hardware as a service. It's this idea that they charge monthly in order to have access to the hardware. They make sure the hardware is in good working order and all of that. And we've seen that be really successful with terminals, smart terminals, regular standalone terminals. But I haven't seen very many people doing it on the hardware side. Obviously, Shift4 was an early company that used that model very effectively. And so, but they did it a little differently because they would still have some hardware stuff, but it would be more the software. And anyway, but this idea that we got to get rid of this hardware cost, this big upfront hardware cost if we want to compete with Toast. Number 2, we have to eliminate the software cost. So again, when I say eliminate here, that's a really strong word, but we have to have the option to eliminate it. Now, some accounts are not going to justify the profitability is not going to justify it, but we certainly want to be able to eliminate the barriers of big setup fees and things like that. And if we want to compete head to head with Toast Toast doesn't waive the software fees. They don't waive the hardware fees, right? They actually charge a lot every month. They don't charge the upfront cost, but they do charge a lot of monthly fees here. And if we want to be really competitive, my point is we probably want to be able to have flexibility to actually eliminate these costs if we want to be really competitive and win these deals. Number three, we need to be able to eliminate the processing cost. Okay, so we're talking about dual pricing. We've been really, really good at this. For most verticals, we've been really bad at it for restaurants. And that's gotten better. But it was like, when I was looking at this and like, okay, I got to find a partner that I can work with to create this solution. I needed to find somebody that was willing to work with me to create dual pricing. Initially it was non-cash adjustment. That's how long ago I started working with Lavu. But it was like, hey, we got to have, we have something where we can waive the processing fees. And we have to have something that's going to generate enough of a profit, enough of a margin that we can afford to eliminate the hardware costs and the software cost. Okay. Now, the fourth one is where it gets really tricky though. And I think some of you are going to resonate with this. So I realized I was kind of going against the grain a little bit with this idea, because one of the issues that our industry has had is whenever agents and ISOs partner with a technology company directly, right, to get the residual income. Again, I'm talking about ISOs and I'm talking about agents here. Hasn't gone well. Let's just say that. I think we all understand. And so we've had issues with it's not really lifetime vested residual. There's all these clauses in the agreement that it's going to be taken away, or that in the event of an acquisition, it can be taken away, or whatever, or there's performance criteria, or all of these things. It's not what we would consider a clean agent agreement, when we partner with these technology companies. So what I've done here is I want to be really clear here. I don't own part of Lavu. I'm not getting a percentage override from Lavu. I'm not getting a percentage of the profits of Lavu or anything like that. I am purely a consultant / advertising content creation partner. And so they have hired me in that capacity. But that's what I do. So I work with a lot of big companies along those lines. And I started talking to Lavu, and I was already working with them to develop dual pricing, cash discounting, some training stuff. And I started talking to them and I'm like, wait a second here. What if we work together for a period of time and built out the reseller program that the agents and the ISOs really needed to have? And so what I'm going to talk to you about today with Salim is we are going to talk about that program that was created. So let's see here. Salim, I'm going to go ahead and get yours unmuted. Hey there, Salim.
Hey, how are you?
Doing great. So, all right, let's get this set up here. Good. Okay. So, Salim, give us a little background on yourself. What's your position with Lavu, and what's been your journey getting you kind of to this point in the industry?
Yeah, sure. So, Salim Khatri, super excited to be back here. I started off in the industry, started off as an ice cream server. That was my first job. Fast forward, I now manage over 100 people around the world, over almost 15,000 restaurants in 100 countries, doing $10 billion of orders. So, really, really excited and extremely close to the merchant, right? We know what the merchant is going through, all their problems that they're facing with rising costs, staffing, and the ability to run their business in this tough time.
I love it. So Salim, one last question before we dive into the details of this, just out of curiosity, to give a little context. How long
Mhm.
has Lavu been around? Give us some context of kind of your scale, so people understand Lavu compared to some of these other companies and your kind of place in the market.
Absolutely. So we were started in 2010 in Albuquerque, New Mexico, at a restaurant called Sushi King, where the founders were basically chatting with the restaurant operator, who was super annoyed with his big black Micros or Aloha box, and thought that we could build a better, faster, more efficient system on the iPad. And ever since then, the company has taken off like a rocket and spread like wildfire.
I love it. So I want to dive into some questions here about the Lavu reseller program. For those of you, by the way, that have questions, if you just start typing those out in the question box, we have a little time at the end to do Q&A. Obviously, we won't get to all of them here, but we'll do our best to kind of, I'll try to find some themes and go through them. So, all right. So Salim, if we go back in time a little bit, I don't know how long ago, probably it's been 6 months, I think, since we started talking about this.
Yep.
You know, give me your vision for why you felt. I mean, obviously we look at your competitors like Toast. I mean, they haven't embraced the independent agent model in any way. They don't
Right.
seem to be
Right.
interested in that whatsoever. Why have you done that? What is it about this? What's your vision for kind of seeing how we compete with Toast, and how do you see the ISO agent channel kind of fitting into that?
Yeah, so if you look at it really from two perspectives, right? We all know what the restaurant or the merchant's problem is, right? Things are getting more expensive. It's harder to recruit and retain people. Their average margin is 3 to 5%, right? So if you're doing 100 grand a month, you might be able to take home $3,000. That's not a lot of money in order to feed your family and children and your dog, et cetera, et cetera. So how can we really help the merchant? The best way to help the merchant is by putting more money in their pocket. Okay. Now, how can we now reach the merchant? Toast has done a really good job of using outside sales reps to walk into these stores and convince them by doing a land grab strategy. They'll start in a real small neighborhood and they'll expand outward by the time they get that whole city. What's happened is independent sales agents who have traditionally sold processing on their own have become ostracized, right? Because you're walking in and trying to just sell processing or an unintegrated point of sale that isn't purpose built for restaurants. So this has created a big opportunity for both the independent agent and Lavu. By basically partnering together, we can offer a solution that offers both amazing integrated processing, but also a purpose-built restaurant solution, and that's absolutely critical to the merchant's success.
So I don't want to dive into a ton of detail here. I know we're going to get to the ISOs in a minute, but I want to talk for a second about the agent who is listening right now. And I want to clarify that what we're describing here is that there is an opportunity for the agent to sell directly for Lavu, the
That's right.
technology, the payment processing, everything integrated together with lifetime residuals and all that. Give us some of the highlights. I know there's a document you're going to send out to people as they show an interest
Hmm.
called, I think we call it the 10 keys to working with Lavu. Give us the
Yep.
highlights. What are agents going to be most interested in as far as how this is structured? And I'm sure we'll get a million questions as follow up, but give us kind of the high level if you would.
Absolutely. So the first is lifetime vested residuals. So we talked about that. You own your residuals starting with your first deal, and as long as you're in good standing with the company, we pay those out on a monthly basis. Number two is there's no minimums or production requirements. So if you sell a deal today and you don't sell anything for the next 3 years, no problem. You're still getting paid on those residuals. Number three, there's no forced buyout, right? So that's a really, really important part of this. If we're acquired or there's a change of control, we're not going to force you to sell your residuals. Number four, you can remain non-exclusive. So if you want to sell for us and sell for your favorite retail POS, that's fine. Obviously, we'd love for you to sell Lavu as your one and only restaurant POS because we work really well together. But there's no exclusive. We ask in exchange that you're honest and transparent. We ask that you don't flip POS systems, right? Because there are some folks that do that. And in exchange, we'll give you world-class support. So if you go on Capterra, you go on G2, you go on Software Advice, you'll see that Lavu is ranked #1 for our customer service. We're really, really proud of that. You basically go out there, find the lead, you call us, we help you close the deal, you get your residuals, and we do all the support along the way. So that's kind of the arrangement. We want to make it really, really easy for you. We want to make it super attractive. So we've built something that you've been asking for.
I love it. I love it. So let's talk for a minute here about dual pricing. Dual
Mhm.
pricing. And again, by the way, I see lots and lots of questions from what you just said. We'll get to all that. Just hang on for just a minute if you would. This is a packed event. We're going to get the full hour out. Talk about dual pricing, cash discounting, kind of this idea of passing the cost on, and why is that so crucial to the strategy that's been developed here, Salim?
Yeah, I mean, it really goes back to what I said, right? The average restaurant operator is having trouble with their business. They're facing a barrage of issues. Most small businesses guys or gals are flipping burgers and trying to manage 50 different things. And if their margin's only 3%, and you walk in and say, "Hey, Mr. Restaurant Operator or Miss Restaurant Operator, I can help you go from 3% to 8% margin, and I can put all that money in your pocket," that is incredibly powerful, right? And so we want to give them the ability to do that. Well, then they say, "Oh, I don't want to do that to my customers because I believe that credit card processing is just cost of doing business." That mantra is quickly going away, right? People are really starting to see other restaurants do this. Obviously, we know banks do it, utilities do it, even gas stations do it, right? So as there's more and more of a economic crunch, which I do believe is going to happen in the next 6 months, you're going to see restaurants adopt these strategies. And so we've obviously, with your help, we built an amazing non-cash adjustment or cash discount program. We're going to be rolling out here really shortly the dual cash pricing. And so it's just furthering ways to help these restaurants adopt to difficult environments. And oh, by the way, we all get paid for that. So it's a win-win across the board.
Right, right. I love it. Okay, one last concept that I want to touch on here because it's I think it's not foreign to our industry, but it just hasn't been done really in the restaurant POS, and that is this idea of hardware as a service, or more specifically, not charging for the hardware up front. Um, I want you to talk about that because this was one of the most interesting parts of our consulting relationship so far. Because this,
Yeah,
make no mistake, I mean, this is a huge risk. This is a huge bet that Lavu
yeah.
has decided to take in order to provide resellers with a true competitive program. So, talk about that decision a little bit, why you decided to go that direction, and then maybe high level mechanics of how that actually, works in practice.
Yeah, I mean, this is something, just to be transparent, we spent a lot of time on. We've run a lot of analytics and looked at the financials, but it really comes down to this, right? If you're working with a customer that's doing $100,000 of volume on a monthly basis, and you put them on dual cash pricing, that's 4 grand of residuals, right, on a gross basis. Now, if you're looking to sell them 4 or 5 grand of hardware, you just simply divide that over 36 months. We want the hardware to basically be a conduit or an afterthought to the whole service that we're providing. It's part of a system. It shouldn't be the main focus, or it shouldn't be the blocker to getting the merchant the system that they need in order for them to be successful. And so we've structured it that way, where you basically, offer it as hardware as a service over 36 months. Of course, there's some breakage costs in there, but hey, if your iPad breaks, no problem. You give us a call, we'll swap it out. You return it back, we send it back to the distributor. We want to make it really easy for the merchant to be up and running. And look, a lot of you are saying, well, you're using iOS and you're not using Android. I would argue, especially with the cycle that we've just been through, Apple is the best hardware partner in the world, right? If you need an iPad or an iPhone, you can just walk outside and pick one up. It's fantastic. Rather than waiting, everybody is dealing with Epson printers these days, right? Rather than waiting for something to come over from China, which takes a long time. So we're super excited to offer this.
Yeah, and I want to talk about this a little bit too, Celine, because this is such a big deal. Like the
Yeah,
idea that you can go sell a merchant, a restaurant especially. I mean, it's one thing to say you're going to do this with like say auto repair shops. They
right.
need a little tablet and a cash drawer, right? You go to a
Hmm.
restaurant doing 100,000 a month. I mean, they may need two stations. They may need a kitchen printer for the bar. They may need a printer for the kitchen. They may need handheld devices for each of their servers. I mean, right?
Hmm.
This is like really
Yep,
significant. And what Toast is kind of locked onto is if you actually provide the restaurant with with the right solution, if you kind of take the hardware off the table, so to say,
that's right. Hmm.
right, and say, like you just said, it's not the main focus. The main focus is what is the solution that you need to be competitive as a restaurant owner, right? Then we add in the dual pricing and say, well, wait a second, I'm going to save you $3,000 a month on the payment processing. So if we have a monthly hardware cost of $300, $400, $500, you still have a huge net savings, or maybe the account's large and profitable enough that the agent says, I'm just going to waive I'm going to eat the hardware and software fees. So I think having that flexibility is so crucial for the agent, because making
Right,
that sale is crucial. And the other thing is too, when we talk about dual pricing, and I get into this in a lot of detail in the training, as you know, Salim, about dual pricing with tip adjust.
right,
Um,
right,
and you guys have a great solution, whether they're doing pay at the table or they're doing the receipt version of it. But obviously we want them to do pay at the table, because then we can actually eliminate 100% instead of 75-80% of the processing fees,
sure,
right? And so if you have to tell them, well, all your servers can have a handheld and that's going to cost you an extra X amount of thousands of dollars, they probably aren't going to go that route, or at least it's going to be a lot harder, versus saying it's going to add, a few $100 a month to your recurring fee for the hardware. So I think it's such a huge thing, because it removes the biggest barrier to making the sale, but it also enables you to give the merchant the solution they really need and they really want. And it gives you the opportunity to do dual pricing the way it should be done with pay at the table, and all of that. So um, that's really huge. Last thing, and then I'm going to talk about the new training program, and then we'll go to Q&A. So keep asking your questions. We're going to dive through them here in a minute. My last question before we get into the training program is, I want to talk about the residual split for a second. Well, I actually have two things. I want to talk
sure,
about the ISO side as
yeah,
well. So, and again, just being really transparent, when I started working with Lavu, and I had this whole idea in my mind of how we would structure this thing for the agent, again, my passion is making merchant sales competitive, as Salim can vouch for. We've had many conversations about that. And, my vision of what you would offer residual to the individual agent, frankly, was a lot lower than what you actually end up offering. I was kind of thinking, well, this is going to be a technology provider. They're going to provide this hardware for free. They're going to take all this risk. So maybe they're going to give us an industry standard 50%, 60% split. Talk about a little more of the details of this residual for the, again, the individual agent reseller. And then we're going to jump right over to what we're doing for the ISO as well.
Yeah, so similar to what we're doing for the merchant, which is I don't want them to even think about hardware, right? I just want to make this a no-brainer for them because we have a fantastic product and it's purpose built for restaurants. We want to do the same thing for all of you. So the program that we've built is an 80-20 split over 2 and 2. And we've done that purposefully because we realize that we want to be at the top end of the market because we want to incentivize you to go to all your relationships and swap out toasts so that we can be in there and obviously grow along with you and in your relationships and leads. So we think that's a really attractive package, and we're fully comfortable doing that because we know you're going to deliver for us.
I love it. I love it. So again, I just to clarify that for 1 second, and let me actually pull this up here. Hold on 1 minute. I'm going to get this slide up here. Okay. So again, just to clarify what you just said, Salim. So on the agent side, it's an 80% residual split over two
Hmm.
basis points and 2 cents, right?
That's right.
Um,
Hmm.
and then of course you're also going to have the additional Schedule A costs of
Right.
hardware and software, which you may choose to pass that on to the restaurant. You may choose to absorb it.
Hmm.
But the margins calculated, you get an 80% true revenue share, true split, 80-20 over 2 basis points and 2 cents. Lifetime vested residuals, no conditions. It's the life of the account. Is that all correct?
That's correct. Yep.
Beautiful. So then up on the screen here, let's talk about the ISO for a second. So this
Oh, sorry.
isn't.
Let me add
Go
one.
ahead.
Let me add one more thing. We've also have a line item in there in case you want to build a rental fee or an equipment fee or it's Tuesday when I sold this and I'm tired fee, and that's 100% yours. So we want to give you the opportunity
Sure.
to be flexible and make this your own business as well.
Yeah, because I mean, right, like Salim, there's several options here, and I talk about it in the training. I mean, as an agent, you may sell a big account where you go, man, I'm competing against Toast. I got to kind of
Yeah,
give away the farm to get this deal. Maybe there's $1,500 a month in margin. You choose to give them, you choose to eat a $400 a month cost of all hardware and software just so you can get the deal, and you're still making 1,000 a month, right? You might do that.
that's right.
On
Yep,
the flip side, you might go to somebody that's pretty thrilled about the fact that you're going to save them $4,000 a month. And you may
yeah,
decide to charge them for the hardware and software and maybe even up the price a little bit and make a ton of residual on that deal. Right.
that's
And so,
absolutely right. Yep.
yeah, so I know you guys
We
wanted to give a lot of flexibility, and I think that's fantastic. So,
we we don't even think that people are actually going to be paying for this when they go out on dual cash pricing. They're going to be net saving money, so I wouldn't even look at this as a cost, right?
right,
This is an investment where they're actually getting paid to use it, and there's
right.
not too many things better than that in life.
Yeah, and again, one of the reasons I asked you how long Lavu's been in business is because I wanted the audience to get a feel for the fact that this POS system's been around for 12 years. It's ranked
That's
at the
right.
top of most of the lists. I mean, this is not lesser technology. This
Right.
is on par with Toast, if not a little better, depending on which list you look at. Like this is a full feature. This does fine dining, quick serve, the pizza shop, the coffee shop, right? The ice cream. This is the real deal. All the features, all the functionality. So I think being able to provide that and then get the lifetime residual is pretty cool. Okay, so let's touch on the ISO for just a minute. So first of all, and again, Salim, I'll leave this to you to kind of explain a little bit. I mean, talk about the smaller ISO that maybe says, maybe we want to just work with Lavu directly. Maybe we
Yeah,
want Lavu to handle the sending out the equipment and deal with the financing of the equipment and deal with the all of that and negotiate a split with you directly. I mean, I would imagine that's something you'd be open to for maybe that smaller ISO that wants to just let's get our team going, let's let Lavu handle all the difficult stuff, and we just want to sell it.
absolutely. Right. It's the same premise. We know that you're feet on the street. We know that you have relationships. We know what we're really good at, and we want to partner to make sure that we're both successful. So anybody that's interested, we'd be happy to talk to them. And we have a lot of ISOs, both large and small, that we work with on that basis.
Love it. And so then when we have kind of the really, really large ISO that says, hey, we want to do our processing, we want to bring our processing to the table. They want to
Yeah.
work and they're committed to making a really smooth integration and a smooth
Right.
process there. For them, I just wanted to mention there that I know one of the things that we worked on was also the training, which I'm about to talk about. And we wanted to
Mhm.
provide, because even if you're a large ISO, if you're really honest with yourself, because I know, because I talked to all of you, you don't sell very many of these systems. I don't care if you're with
That's
Lavu
right.
or who you're selling with. You're not very good at this. I don't know any other way to say it. I'm not trying to be offensive. It's just the truth. I mean, when I talk to ISOs and it's like they're huge, they sell 1,000 deals a month, and it's like, how many restaurant POS systems do you sell? 40, right? And it's like, wow, okay, so this is an area where there's a weakness, and again, a lot of it's what we just described. It's not a smooth process. You're charging for the hardware,
Yep.
all of these issues, and so. Salim, I know one of the things that we want to touch on is for those partners as well. Our goal is to
Mhm.
make it a lot better for them as well, and to provide the training. So maybe you want to talk a little bit about that kind of moving forward and how those relationships might adjust with this kind of new program, new reality.
Yeah, look, it's all about leverage, right? And especially the large ISOs, they have large concentrated groups where they've built out these reps. And if they're writing 1,000 deals a month, and they're only doing 40 restaurants, we see that as an opportunity where we can leverage the training that you've built, and we can negotiate something they can plug into the gateway, and have a good experience out of the box, right? It's seamless. We're already doing it, and we'd love to help them compete, because if they win, we win.
Yep. I love it. I love it. Okay. So last thing here, and then Salim, if you stay on, we'll answer questions because
Sure.
we have like a million. But before we get to that, let me talk for just a second about the training. I'll be a little arrogant here for a second and say that this training is like amazing and fantastic. I mean, we really pulled out all the stops. I went to a local restaurant to shoot the first part of the training. And so, it's exactly what you need to sell Lavu point of sale and dual pricing. There are 3 segments to the training. The training consists of kind of an introduction to Lavu and dual pricing. We go over kind of some of the hardware options. We talk about dual pricing, the value proposition. Then we move into features and we talk about the just high level, how to build a menu, how to add users, things like that. And so not a deep dive. We're not trying to make you the Lavu expert. That's why that's why Lavu exists. But at the same time, you want to be educated. You want to understand what features are there and have those conversations. And then the third module is the sales process. And I have talked to hundreds of agents that have successfully sold restaurant POS. In order to build that out, I actually provide 3 different kind of sales processes that you can go through. I provide a script for one version. There's a lot of information there. The whole thing's about 3 hours and 15 minutes. The way this process works, and again, I've worked very closely with Lavu on all of this. I really, Salim, could not be more proud of what you guys have done. I mean, it is like amazing. It's exactly what the industry needs. Obviously there's still some things you mentioned. Dual pricing is coming out. I think, what is it?
Yep.
November
November
15th.
28th. Yeah,
November.
November
Okay. So,
28th. Yep.
so we got a little time for dual pricing. They've got the non-cash adjustment right now, which they
Yep.
can swap into dual
Correct.
pricing. There's a few other things that we're still in the middle of working through. They're doing their whole pay fact thing. And so the merchant agreement is going to be similar to what you would use through your ISO right now. Is that, I think, pretty accurate?
I think I would say it's better, but it's not a page and a half, and it will be a page and a half very, very soon. Super slick. But
Right.
we look on that point. I really want to emphasize that we are all about white glove service. It's really, really
Yes.
important that we take care of our partners, because they're going out there and doing all the heavy lifting. So my team understands that it's really important that we help you get through these deals and win these deals. So we
Yep.
will make sure that we show that same level of attention to everybody here.
Love it. So here's the process, okay? I want everybody to take a second right now before we get into the Q&A. Everybody take a second right now. Okay, we don't mind that you're going to jump off the event for 1 second. You can still leave it up in the other window. Go to lavu.com/CC Sales Pro. So it's LAVU.com/CC Sales Pro, or you can go to ccsalespro.com/Lavu. They both are going to take you to the exact same place. And go to that link. So again, it's lavu.com/CC Sales Pro. I'm actually going to put it down here in the chat, and I'm going to send it to everybody. So it is lavu.com/CC Sales Pro. And we're just going to send that out to everybody. So go ahead and grab that link. What you're going to find is it's a landing page. There's a 2-step process to get signed up with the free training. The first one is a Lavu landing page. And when you fill that form out, it's then going to take you to a second page, which is in a branded version of our learning management system. Just a couple of form fields there to fill out to set up your account. Once you fill that form out, you are going to immediately be inside of the learning management system, and you're going to have access to the first course, which is about an hour in length. And it just gives you kind of this overview of Lavu. I put a teaser video out on social media. You might have seen that today. And so that's the first course. Once you have completed that first course and you have a gist of kind of what this is all about, then someone from Lavu is going to reach out to you and they will answer any questions you have, get you signed up, get you your demo account, all of those things. And then they will assign you the other two courses, which are the ones that go more in depth, which is the features of Lavu and the sales process. Okay. Once you complete all three modules, you will be what's called a Lavu certified reseller. And that means you know a lot about Lavu. Definitely know enough to go out there and make some sales. And then talk, Salim, about that initial process. So the first 2-3 deals, when they don't, they don't really know what they're doing yet, maybe in a lot of cases, what does that look like? How does Lavu handle that process for them?
Yeah, absolutely. So once you come to the website, you give us your information. You obviously get access to all of James's training. When you're ready, we hop on the phone. We walk you through kind of the marketing materials. There is a program fee associated. It's only $59. It's normally $99, but obviously we want to get you a demo account and get you all the materials so that you can go out there and sell. After that, your first 3 or 4 or 5 deals, you just hop on our Calendly or scheduling, or you give us a call and we will walk you through it. So you can be involved or you don't have to be involved. As long as the merchant's on the phone, we will take them through the process. The best thing to do is sync up with your relationship agent on our team beforehand, saying, okay, this is Brandon's hot dogs, 5 terminals. I'm going to cover the hardware, and I'm going to cover the software because the guy's doing 500 grand in volume, a month, something like that. So that way we can be on the same page, and then it's just smooth. We'll hand you off to onboarding. Somebody from the onboarding team will make sure they take care of you with white glove service, input all the menu information, and make sure the customer gets live as soon as possible. And then we'll loop back to you to make sure the customer is happy, and continue to just rinse and repeat.
Yeah, and I also want to clarify too, again, this initial 3 modules, it is going to give you a lot of information. It really is. But is it going to make you the, premier expert on everything Lavu does? No. And I mean, Salim, it's interesting actually when I was shooting the features videos. I mean, I had kind of forgotten, honestly, the depth of functionality that Lavu has. I mean, it is crazy
Hmm.
intense. Like you guys
Yep,
can do anything. And so as a
pretty
result
much
of that,
anything.
yeah, pretty much anything. It's a bit complex to dive into all the nitty gritty details. And so what I want to clarify is, I have a ongoing relationship with Lavu. We're going to be making additional content on a monthly basis, adding to this
Hmm.
training material and putting out, hey, here's this feature, here's that feature. So we really want to educate you because I think many of you, I talk about in the training, but I know some of you are going to be kind of like, oh, cool, I can just refer the deals, partner with Lavu. I get the same compensation whether I'm super involved or not. Great. I'll just send you the deals. And that's fine. For you, the initial training is going to be perfect for what you need. Others of you say, hey, I've been selling restaurants on point of sale for 10 years, 15 years. I like this idea, but I want to become like the Lavu reseller. I want to be like the expert on this. And if that's you, great. That's why we have the training. We're going to be adding to that training as you partner with Lavu and you're on these demos. You're going to see more of the details of it, and you'll get better and better at helping your clients with, with getting these things set up and understanding it. And so most of you are probably going to fall somewhere in the middle. You're not going to want to be the absolute expert that's actually doing a lot of the hardware installation and stuff, but you're also going to want to know what you're talking about. And so that's what we've kind of geared that training towards. So I'm about to open up Q&A. Before I do, if you are still listening right now and you have not yet gone to this link, please stop for just a second and go to this link. It's in the chat. It's lavu.com/ccsalespro or ccsalespro.com/lavu, Lavu. And again, 2 forms you need to fill out. Do both of them. The first one says, hey, I'm interested in Lavu. That's going to take you to another form that's going to give you a really easy email, and I just need an email and password. You sign up,
Hmm.
and you're going to instantly have access to the training. So, assuming you've done that, I'm going to pull up the questions here, Salim, and I will do my best to present you with some of these questions
Hit,
in
hit
our
me,
live.
hit me with the hard ones, rapid fire, hot seat. But look, before we do that, I mean, look, we have, wow, we're in over almost 150 form submissions already. So, if you haven't
Love
filled it out, please do. I mean, but I'm really, really excited about all the people that are signing up. This is awesome.
this is great. My favorite one,
Yeah.
Salim, you'll love this. Ben says he's at a coffee lounge right now on this event and he realized that they have toast.
Oh,
So
wow.
So Ben, it's time for you to get up and go sell them, and then let us know.
There you
So
go. Yeah,
yeah. Let's see here. We have actually, well, I'll tell you what's the other thing I really like about this. We have a lot of people in the questions that just put that they love Lavu. They've had a great experience
that's
with
awesome.
Lavu. They've been using Lavu. So I think the way to look at that is, again, it's getting better, and I love it. So okay, let's rapid fire here. So what about takeout? So Toast has their takeout app. Perfect follow up for a database of Toast merchants. What do you guys do for kind of the pickup, curbside pickup, that sort of thing? How do your restaurants handle that? How does Toast deal with that?
So a few years ago, we purchased a business called Menu Drive, which was literally like the game changer for online ordering, and we've integrated it fully into Lavu. It has takeout, it has curbside, it has DoorDash delivery, so the customer can pay for the DoorDash delivery or the merchant. It has a direct DoorDash integration into Lavu and Menu Drive. So if somebody orders from the DoorDash app, it'll go into Menu Drive. It'll also go into Lavu POS. And it's incredibly flexible. It has QR codes, pretty much anything it does, anything you can think that you need in terms of how customers are now consuming food, it can do. Now, on the concept of creating an aggregated list, that's something that we've contemplated doing. And we're happy to do that. I have seen that Toast does that, and that's something that we can absolutely do for our partners.
Cool. That's a good question. I think I know the answer to this, but does Lavu have co-branding options for dealers? I don't think you do, right? It's always the Lavu brand.
It is the Lavu brand, and but look, if you come and say, "Look, my company is called ABC Payments," we'd be happy to somehow figure out a way to put you front and center.
Sure.
To make sure we we
Assuming
we
you're
want
a
to
really
focus on the
big
product.
company.
Yeah, yeah,
Right.
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
I mean, what I will say here, and again, this kind of goes to my like macro view of how things are going to play out. Um,
Yeah,
I don't, I mean, my personal opinion on it, I don't think that's a great idea for most of you. I mean, you want this is, I think in our industry, Salim, it gets a bit of a bad idea to align yourself with a big brand a lot of times because there's so much
right.
negative, online
That's right.
material about it. This is
Yeah,
not that. Like you're with a tech company now, like Labu, as you mentioned, Salim, like they actually rank really high in all these different
yeah.
categories. So if somebody sees you're selling Lavu and they start to look up Lavu, like they're going to see good things.
That's right.
So
That's
I
right.
think you mentioned that. Um, oh, let's see here. A lot of people are asking for just rough numbers of the scale of Lavu currently. I don't know how much of that you're at liberty to share, as far as how many restaurant locations or how many you guys do, or I don't know, any of that information you could share scale wise for Lavu.
Yeah, we were in 100 countries, 15,000 locations. Like I said, doing 10 billion in orders. And so, we continue to grow. I mean, our churn, I would argue, is world class. Especially for our segment. So, our team has been doing an absolutely fantastic job.
Love it. Um, let's see here. Let's see. How does Lavu align with features versus Toast? I mean, are there any strengths or weaknesses that stand out to you as far as when you compare just the pure functionality of Lavu to Toast?
Until recent, so we have, we'll have dual cash, we'll have non-cash adjustment. We have non-cash adjustment. Toast doesn't do that. I know they do a little bit of surcharging. I know they have a whopping 99-cent fee for card not present. I think we win there all the time. We can be more flexible. Our customer service is unparalleled. You get to the point when if you have 70,000 locations, you just become a big corporation, right? And so our team here is still, really interested in making a name for itself and continue to push forward and give that white glove service. Until recently, Toast, I would say, was probably a little bit better for, really, really large chains, but now we have multi-location management. I will go on the record as saying Apple, Selena, we have over 100 locations with NYU, UMass. So, we definitely punch above our weight and hold our own, and we're constantly innovating and pushing out features
Yeah.
at least once a month.
Yeah. Love it. Yeah. I mean, every time I've been working with you guys on stuff, it's been pretty quick. I've been
Yeah,
surprised how nimble you guys are for your size. It's pretty good. A couple things to clarify here, which is a bunch. I'm going to combine a bunch of questions into one. So to clarify here, Lavu has Lavu Pay, and so what
correct.
we're talking about here is as an individual agent or even an ISO. If you say, hey, 2 basis points and 2 cents is a pretty good, like that's a pretty low cost structure, and we would
Yeah.
like to sell Lavu, but we just might as well do the processing through Lavu, so it's all integrated into one system. They handle the deployment, they handle everything, and then you have, your standard 80% split for the individual agent. If you're a large ISO, you're going to be bringing them 20, 30, 40 deals a month. You have this conversation
Hmm.
with them. That's what we're talking about. That's Lavu Pay. If you're a
Correct.
really big ISO, again, and you're already partnered, I mean, yes, they still have the processor agnostic. It's just that, you're going to have to speak to them because they don't have any kind of standard program for, hey, free hardware or whatever, because if you're the one doing the processing, you're the one making the money. And so, right, Love,
That's
I don't
right.
know if you want to add anything to
No,
that, Salim, but I mean,
that's right. No, that's
okay.
right. Look, we've tried to make Lavu Pay extremely attractive, and we've partnered with Verifone and Woodforest Bank, which if I don't know if anybody's at Money 2020 right now, but there will be an announcement where it's going to be announced that Verifone, Lavu, and Woodforest Bank are going direct to Visa, right? So there's no processor in the middle, and that's why we're able to offer these attractive rates, which is super, super exciting and on the cutting edge.
It is, and again, I think, if you, I almost thought of naming this event, if you can't beat them, join them, and you're like,
That's
the
right.
idea is the ISOs have been trying for so long, and the agents, it's like, how do we compete with Toast? Well, the way you compete with Toast is by adopting the model that Toast has adopted, which
Hmm.
is integrated payments. They make all the money off of the payments. They're the payfac, and so, it's just really hard to compete with Toast, if you're not offering what they're offering. And so what this is all about is, let's offer everything that Toast has with dual pricing, cash discounting, so that we can have big enough margins to even, eliminate the processing fees and eliminate hardware and software. So it's kind of like the same economic model as Toast as far as the merchant is concerned, but with this huge caveat, this huge advantage of, we can eliminate a bunch of these costs that they're paying, which these costs are really high. Um,
That's right.
Oh, let's see here. Oh, talk about the tip for a second. I touched on it. A bunch of people are asking questions about that. So how does the let's say non-cash adjustment for right now, to make the language easy, and we can talk about dual pricing later. But how does that work as far as, if they're doing, pay at the table with the server? How
Hmm.
does the non-cash adjustment work to be able to eliminate 100% of the processing fees?
So we included, so anything that there's that's being charged to the card is basically going to be waived or eliminated. So what we do is our system basically calculates, okay, if it's a $4 tip, it would basically go and add additional. You would go and add that non-cash adjustment on the tip, so that the merchant net is not going to have to pay for processing fees. Now, some merchants, as we all know, are particular. Restaurant merchants are very particular, and so they don't want that. And we also have a toggle where that turns it off. So we
Yep.
do it both ways. Yep.
So I've gone to the end now. So now I'm going to ask the questions that we got asked most recently. So I missed a bunch of them from some of you that we're probably not going to get to, but I'm going to send this whole list to the Labu team so they can reach out to hopefully answer additional questions. So really quickly, somebody asked, where do you go after you get the link for the training? So again, once you fill out ccsalespro.com/Labu or labu.com/ccsalespro, fill out that
Hmm.
form. When you go to the next page and create your account, literally all you should have to do is click start learning, I think it's called. And there's a
Yep.
course right there, and you just start it. That's all you have to do. When you finish that, even before that, the Labu team is going to reach out. But when you finish that one, somebody from Labu will reach out and assign the other two courses. If you're not
That's right.
seeing that, just reach out to Labu, and they can assist there. A really great question here. Who's taking on liability of the equipment cost? So talk about this structure a little bit. Salim, what they're describing here obviously is, in some of these
Hmm.
structures, the agent has some liability if the person doesn't,
That's right.
right? So talk
Yeah.
about how you're kind of handling that risk, and what you're doing about that.
Yeah. So look, we wanted to make this program extremely flexible for all of you and the merchant, like in order to get Lavu out there. So if you come to us and say, look, I think this merchant is high volume, and therefore I want to eat the hardware costs, then what we'll do is we'll basically just net out the hardware as a service cost from your monthly residual. If you find yourself in the red on your residuals, for example, if somebody's not processing and you're in the negative, then we would have a conversation. But at the end of the day, it really depends on how you structure it. It can either be paid for by the merchant, and they would be entering into a contract with Lavu because we're extending that courtesy of 0% financing over 36 months. And if it's something that you want to take advantage of in order to get the deal done, then you would be responsible for it. But it's a conversation. We view you as partners and not
Sure.
employees.
And I will say, it actually is even a bit more complex than that, right? As you dive into it, and I have an entire like 15-minute video in the training where we talk exactly about how this works. So,
That's right.
talk about installation. Who's installing the point of sale? How does that work?
So depends on the size of the merchant. We can either work with a third party provider, which we work with a number of different third party providers around the country, or we just do a remote install. And our customer base loves our onboarding team. They're fantastic. Again, white glove service. It's very simple. You send us the menu. We'll make sure it's inputted. You have an opportunity to review it. Depending on the number of times of iterations, we'll get that done for you. Set up your equipment and you'll be on your way. But if it's a really big place, sometimes it's good to just have a professional installer come in, and our team will make sure that it gets installed properly.
Beautiful. Um, Oh my, there's so many questions here. Let's talk about so one of the ones I do see several people asking is, how do you get people out of Toast when they have a contract? I'm not going to dive into all of that here. Obviously, there's a variance now, but there are some merchants who have signed a long-term agreement. They may have some kind of contractual or financial obligation to this, and so obviously in those cases they would not be able to switch unless they broke their contract. And so I'm not going to dive into all the details of that, but that would be something I'm sure we'll talk more about in the training that comes up. um, the demo, that's the other thing I want to talk about. So talk about the demo for a second. So they complete the initial training. They want to sign up
Right.
as a Lavu reseller. What do they get in order to be able to go sell this, and how does that work?
Yeah. So this is actually a good time. So everybody, make sure after you've signed up, make sure that you click on that course, start now or learn now. That's really, really important so you can go and get started. After you're done with that or during that process, one of our team members will reach out to you just to confirm how you're doing, to see if you have any questions. And then we'll allocate that next set of courses to you. After you pay your program fee, it's very simple. We will give you a demo account that looks beautiful both for both online ordering and the POS, so you can walk into any restaurant on your iPad and show them, the power of Lavu. We'll also give you marketing materials. We're working on business cards. If you want business cards, Lavu swag as well, so you feel like you're part of the team, which we definitely think you are. But we want to we really want to set you up for success. So if you feel like after you just warmed up the merchant and you just want to schedule a conversation, that's totally fine too. But eventually we want to empower you to be able to go out on your own and do this as your full-time job.
Love it. I was actually just going through real quick on the sign up screen here to make sure that we are what that experience is going to do here. Okay. So it's working great here. So I had a couple people asking about the flow. So we'll end with this, and then we have like 1 minute. So let's end with this. So Salim already touched on
Sure.
this, but okay. So to clarify, everybody, here's what you need to do. Okay. So if you haven't done so already, I know most of you already have, but if you haven't or you've had an issue, and again, there was like 300 people that clicked this link within like 30 seconds. So maybe you might have had a little glitch there if you went in on your computer and tried that. So try again if it didn't work for you, but here's all you got to do. I just checked in. It's working great. So you let's go to lavu.com. So it's LAVU. So it's lavu.com/CC Sales Pro. That's going to bring up a form. You know what I'm going to do, Salim, just to make this even easier? I am literally going to show them this
Screen
before
share.
we end the event. So if you
Love it.
already did this, thank you so much for your time today. You can feel free to jump off. We really appreciate your time. If you haven't done this yet, hang on 1 second and let me just show you really quickly how this works. So you're going to go to lavu.com/CC Sales Pro. That's going to bring up this page right here. And you're going to have a form to fill out right here. And you're going to click on get started. And it's going to say, one of these captcha things that everybody loves. And then you're going to verify that. And then it's going to take you here. And when you sign up for this, then you are now going to be in our system. And then here is the training right here. And then you're going to click on start learning. And you are off to the races. Click on the first one. And you just start watching them in order here. And there's a little quiz, by the way. So after most of the videos here, there's going to be a little like very easy multiple choice quiz. So as long as you were watching the video, you will not have any problem answering these questions. But that's just to help you kind of, I think it's fun, have it kind of a gamified a little bit. But you'll have a good time there going through that. And then again, once you've completed this first course right here, which is 1 hour and 15 minutes long, you can see here. Once you've completed this, then that is going to send a little notification out to the Lavu team. and then they will follow up with you. They're going to get you the 10 keys to selling successfully for Lavu. They're going to talk to you about the demo account that Salim just mentioned, and kind of get you rolling there. And then they're also going to assign to you 2 other courses that we have on the features and the sales process. So that's
That's
the
right.
process. So if you haven't done that yet, please do that. Salim, any final words of encouragement or wisdom here for our audience today?
No, I'm super excited. I think this has been great. I've been looking at the numbers the whole time. We have an amazing turnout. So thank you, James. We're really excited to partner with you, and we're excited to partner with all of you out there in the independent agent community. I think all of you've been waiting for something like this a long time, and we're excited to flip the industry on its head.
Yep. Love it. Salim, thanks so much. Thanks everybody for your time today. Appreciate it. And everybody have a fantastic rest of your evening.